Hey, what's up guys? This is Allyn with Electronix. Welcome back for another Q&A. Today's topic is actually on boxes. We've got a couple of questions we're going to go over, but we're going to start with the first one. The first one is how to tune a sealed box by Corey Payne from YouTube. And then we'll go over the second question when we're done with that. Well, you definitely cannot tune a sealed box in the same manner that you can a ported box. But you definitely can manipulate, which is the word I kind of like to use, the woofer and how it will perform and how it will sound based off the actual size of the enclosure. And I got my program up right here so I can kind of show you that and illustrate that on here. So I've already selected a woofer for the demo here, and I've got 3 presets here at the bottom, so I'm just going to show you. That would be the woofer and a flat box, a normal box, and a boomer box, but I'm going to put all those together so you can actually see the differences in the 3 boxes. And actually what you're noticing here is you're just seeing the response in the woofer in the box based off the size of the enclosure. So I'm going to go back over here so you can see the different sizes that it affects. So here's the first one. It's a 1.2 cubic foot box. The second one is a 0.6, so literally half, and then a boomer is 0.4020. So as you can see, basically with each change in the size of the enclosure, it changes the response on the box. There's a lot more factors that go into that, which we're not going to discuss, but this was just to kind of show you that you can kind of manipulate the response of the driver and how it performs in that box based off the actual size. So I hope that answered your question, but basically a larger box will play lower and a smaller box will play higher. But like I said, that's just kind of the basic answer. There's a lot more variables that go into that besides just the actual enclosure size. So Corey, I hope that answered your question. We're going to move on to the second question. And the second question is, if I have a ported box and it's too small for the sub, what happens? So I'm going to kind of do the same exact thing and illustrate on the computer the difference when a woofer is in the wrong size box. And I'm going to go ahead and clear this because this was in a sealed box. We're going to now select vented box. And we're going to use our same little presets here, but for this one we're kind of just probably going to do 2 examples. So here's a flat box and here's a normal box. So you can kind of see there's 2 different sizes, and off the 2 different sizes there is 2 different tuning frequencies. So you can see at the 2.3 cubic foot box it's tuned at 26, and at the 1.9 cubic foot box it's tuned at 28. Now I'm going to clear this and kind of show you like an example so you can see each time you manipulate the enclosure size. Now in this particular scenario, since it's ported, we can manipulate the tuning frequency. You can see that it changes the response of the box there. So I'm going to clear this just to kind of show you, let's just say this was the correct size box for your woofer, a 2.3 cubic foot box. It's tuned at 26 hertz. And let's just say your box was a 1.5 cubic foot box tuned at, I don't know, it defaults obviously, let's just leave it the way it is, a 1.5 tuned at 30 there. And as you can see, it doesn't necessarily mean that won't work, but you can definitely see that the enclosure changed the response of the box. You can see the larger enclosure that was tuned lower has a different curve and a different roll-off than the one that's smaller and tuned slightly higher. So that's why it's important to choose the right enclosure. I like using this program because I can kind of manipulate and on paper see how a box will kind of look like before we actually start building it. But I'm going to take you over to a box that we haven't finished yet, just to kind of give you an idea of airspace and how that's all kind of relative. So here's a ported box. It's not done yet. You can kind of see the port here. We're obviously missing the top and we're obviously missing the front. But this space here is going to be considered your airspace for the actual woofer or woofers. And then this is actually your port. Now you can see the port itself has to be a certain size and a certain length to, one, not have any like port or vent noise. Vents can be round, they can be slotted, they can be square, they can be all different sizes, but it all applies the same way. So it has to be the appropriate size, and based off of that and length will determine your tuning frequency. But you can see here, it's important to know what you're building or box you're getting, because there's an overall airspace that the box needs to be. So you can't just have, let's just say this was 3.5 cubic feet. You can't just say have a 3.5 cubic foot box and then add a port to it. You can see how much airspace the port takes up. You've got to add that port, and you've got to add the woofer displacement to the enclosure to have the overall airspace. Then you can factor it. So the biggest thing is that you really want to get it right, because if you don't, you could lead to failure, or it just really won't sound good. And that really applies to pretty much both sealed and ported. And this was just obviously just to give you kind of like a visual representation of how that would change. This could look a lot worse. Obviously, I don't know the size of your box. I was just taking one woofer and showing you two different examples. So, and that question was from Kiss Me Wrath from YouTube as well. So I hope that answered both of your questions. We're actually in the progress of putting together our Car Audio 101 video series, and in that series we start from like the car audio super basics, and we're going to go all the way up to more advanced stuff. And as we start doing that, we're actually going to get pretty deep into box tuning and frequencies and how to build a box, etc. So I would definitely make sure, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to our channel. That way when you see the launch of the Car Audio 101 video series, you can actually stay tuned and learn more on that. Once again, I'm Allyn with Sonic Electronics. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.